Good evening, Internet. Welcome to yet another live show that I try to get to every weekend, various times. It's a little earlier than the usual, so I got somewhere to be before 5, but that's usually what I strive for. I strive for 5, but I do what I can. Well, yeah, I come to you guys to postulate a question. Um, Can rent control cause more homelessness? I asked this question multiple reasons. I'm seeing like an uptick in homelessness certainly in my area. Like I'm seeing like Tentville's popping up around every store I frequent. Um, you're just seeing more desperation, despair. Uh, School I work at, they got like people with this aluminum foil and a straw. They'll just start using hard drugs right in front of all the students, showing that there's no hope. You gotta laugh at it because it's so sad. Because when I initially left the Bay Area, I did leave. I had like opportunities that I was looking forward to, but I was eager to get the fuck out of there because I was seeing an uptick in homelessness. A lot of people I went to school with just started going homeless. This was after the 2008 crash. Around 2007, 2008, saw a lot of people I knew. They were buying their first homes. It was easy as shit to get a house. Immediately after getting a house, to get a new car was just like the best. I mean, it was easiest to afford. Then, of course, their payments went up. A lot of them, they just couldn't afford to keep the house. Found out that the banks were working against them. These were predatory mortgages meant to target them, take all of their wealth. And then the banks got away with it because, they own all of our government, especially federal government, but also state and local. That's why you don't see, they say the banks are too big to fail, but they're too big to be private. If they're getting our money to bail them out, they should be public banks like they got in North Dakota. But it was. I left the Bay Area thinking, I'd be leaving homelessness behind. I moved to a more affluent area. Saw way fewer homeless people. Maybe one or two regular homeless people. Then, of course, the same shit happened to every area I went to. Um, Rents were reasonably priced, well under $1,000 for a place of your own. Then they start to just skyrocket, right? Um, and with each increase in rent, you see an uptick in homelessness because there's no protections, and the landlord class, the banks who scam people out of their homes, they don't give a shit about you. That's why they played you in the first place. Um, they don't give a shit if the homeless, the people who bought those homes fair and square are turned into despair using drugs in the middle of the street. They're probably funding the zombie drug epidemic, but it's just it's getting atrociously bad. Because it's just like when I started going to the school I work at as well. It was definitely some homeless people dealing with mental illness, but now it's just like it's like reaching the apex. It's just like more and more people are hitting the streets, and yeah, so it's just it just caused me to question, um, why is no one doing anything about this, right? So it was a politician who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, Shama Sawant. She was one of the reasons why the fight for the $15 minimum wage became national. Um, she put out something talking about Seattle City Hall meeting. They were going to be discussing rent control. So I was like, ooh, that sounds like something I would want to be a part of, she has like some ideas on how to control, protections for renters, which I think are greatly needed. but I definitely don't think they go far enough, because her whole goal is to um, trying to control the corporations. You know, like just limit their abilities. I'm one of those people. I don't think they should exist. I don't think a landlord should exist. I mean, I refuse to call any human being lord of anything. Fuck that shit. You're nobody's lord. You're an apex parasite. Let alone like some fucking criminal, the people who are putting millions of people out in the streets due to their greed. You know, who like you motherfuckers want to complain about rent, get a job. You know, like you don't depend on like people who actually work to pay for your housing, your multiple housing units. As you shouldn't own that shit. Because right now there's like more empty houses than there are homeless people. Um, and why are those houses empty? Because they're charging these exorbitant rents. These corporations are artificially raising the prices of rents, right? So I definitely have my issues with the DSA. I organized with them when I was um in Olympia for a while, up until the pandemic. Then it's not that I didn't want to organize, but they were one of the groups that required you to show your papers just to get into a meeting. So I was like, y'all are crazy. Y'all lost sight of the plot. What the fuck are you talking about? Papers. You got to show papers to try to curtail the government's overreach. You motherfuckers are exemplifying overreach. You shouldn't be catering to this shit. Don't placate these motherfuckers. But it's already happened. The alternatives are Democrats or Republicans. So it's like, a lot of people say you got to vote Democrat because the Republicans are worse. I don't. Republicrats are the same class to me. They're the same shit. Shama Sawant is clearly better than the other people in the city council. So I showed up, and I had my little statement, but they had a lot of landlords there. And they were, most people were just like, oh, we got to have rent control now. They were telling their stories about how they're either homeless or just teetering on homelessness, struggling like a motherfucker. And then you had these landlords coming out, and they were like, yeah, you think these laws are going to help? They're going to protect you? They're going to cause more homelessness. I'm like, how can we get any more homelessness? What the fuck could, like, rent protection do to cause more homelessness? Like anything like that we do would have to be better than where we're at right now. But they kept saying the same shit over and over again, and it's just like I'm hoping that they were just that corrupt, because it boggles my mind to think that someone could be that stupid. Uh, but it's just like it's a game they play. And it's just frustrating. It's just like, is anybody against rent control? Is there anyone out there who's like, nah, look, let them like raise the rent exponentially? They know any percentage they want, double percentage, triple percentage. Like you got places going for $4,000, one bedrooms, studios for $3,000. This shit is fucking ridiculous. Like who can afford this shit? What normal person are you expecting to afford it? But they're really not. Cause I lived in a few places where it's just like their whole business model is rent every room, like multiple people to a room. I was at one place I was illegally evicted from. They were just like, you would think you got your own room. They randomly give you a new roommate. No, they don't consult with you. It's just like you got three people in one room. And you're still paying a grip of bank for that shitty ass situation. And yeah, like I said, they can illegally evict you at any moment, drop of a hat, and they expect us to normalize that, or people to just start talking about tiny homes as a solution. I think we need to just what extremely wealthy people have the ability to do is leverage buyout, where they use the value of the property they're buying as a down payment for buying it. And it's just like, why should any corporation or rich motherfucker be able to do this, but poor people can't? Like, if you're poor, that's like that's all you own. That's all all your value. It's a larger percentage of your value, so you're gonna instinctively do more to take care of it. Your incentive is to hold on to the place that you stay. If it's your 100th house, it doesn't matter if you lose it or not. You got a million more fucking homes. But it's just like we live in this cockamamie system where, like, rich people who already have more property than, like, there's people who have more homes than they even know. Like John McCain, he was asked how many houses he owned, and he lost track. He didn't know how many houses he actually owned. And he got all that shit heavily government subsidized. Yes, he did have a rich wife, but the rich people, they have no shame in taking money from the government. Matter of fact, they take way more money from the government than any poor person ever could. It's like they want you to feel shame for going to get some food stamps, but they'll take trillions of dollars, like in the CARES Act, where they just rob the government. They rob us through the government, using the government, and they do it with no shame. And that shit needs to be reined in. So that's why I had this statement when it comes to dealing with the rental control crisis. My name is Nathan Fisher. Work multiple jobs, still can't afford to rent, but my intention is not to rile up the peasants here, but this is not the ultimate solution for our problem. I think the major solution we need to arrive at is ending the ability for corporations to be able to own property, period. It should be illegal for them to own anything because they artificially raise up the prices of the housing. Fighting billionaire greed is a cute slogan, but we need to end billionaires. They have the ability to buy up all of our politicians. Does anyone looking at these empty seats believe that they give a wet chart about your precarious living situation? I don't. I would like to see the people with the capital being the workers because we provide value to society. Well, yeah. Well, that's it was kind of the gist of my feeling. Nobody else was like, I mean, everybody hated the idea of corporations, overreaching, taking homes. They people thought they had too much power, but I was like the only person who's like, let's end these corporations. Why is nobody doing that? And that's like one of my, like, I sat and talked to a few people. One of them was like the organizers of the event. They were a member of the DSA. And they were like, yeah, we need to overthrow capitalism, install socialism. And I was like, yeah, that's cute. I'm with you. Like, I understand what you're trying to say. But, the message gets muddled to a lot of people. A lot of people don't realize what capitalism is. They view, like, I got a lot of family, they view themselves as capitalists because, they're entrepreneurial. And they think, like, I got this idea, I want to make money on this idea, right? They don't realize, like, the kind of capitalism that they're talking about is like government monopolies, government subsidized monopolies, where it's like, if you want to start your own oil company, you're not going to succeed because the big oil companies, they're subsidized by the government. They can't lose. Whether you get away from their cars, you get away from the oil, everything, all that petroleum products, like, they're still going to get subsidized, right? And it's just like we go to wars for these oil companies. That's why they're so afraid of Russia. Russia, they nationalized their energy, right? So if they went to war for oil, it will make more sense for the citizenry to be behind it because they will benefit from it. Same with Venezuela. But they don't do that, because the psychopaths who run our government, they don't give a shit about human life. That's why it's like I would never go as far as saying it's corporations versus America, or it's corporations versus humanity, because it's really it's either corporations or life on this planet. because they're destroying our water, destroying our air, destroying our soil, because they're run by psychopaths. And it's just like by the time you get $100 billion or even a billion, let alone two or more, right? You got more money than you'll ever need, and you have enough money to be above the law. Have you ever heard of a billionaire going to prison? I mean, Jeffrey Epstein was pretty rich, 500,000 or 500 million, some estimates say. I mean, he got he um did some jail time, because it was just so many cases of sex trafficked children coming to light, but he was still protected for years after he first got arrested. Um, and he didn't even have a single billion, right? Well, by the time we talk about people with 100 billion, have you ever seen anyone with $10 billion? Like get a parking ticket, do anything? Like it was one of the Waltons, the Walmart heirs. They got they got into multiple deadly car accidents. One of them killed someone, and the only person to do jail time after she was drunk driving and murdered someone was the officer who arrested her. That was the only one who got in trouble. But yeah, that's just the kind of system we live. I don't think anyone should. That's an absurd amount of money. No one should have it, especially since it's subsidized by us all the time. It's all of the money comes from us. All of the richest people, they're the biggest welfare queens. That's just a fact. And we should never subsidize the people who are using all that money to oppress us, to steal our rights, steal our freedoms, control our media so we don't realize that they're the real villains, and they keep us distracted, focused on like the Russian over there, the Chinese person over there. The real villain in America is the corporation. Those are our enemies are all within. They're domestic. I mean, yes, they set up their they pay taxes outside of the country, but they usually actually live here, and they only take our taxes and pay taxes to another country because it's a lower tax rate, and that's just extreme theft of wealth. It's treason to the highest order, because it's treason to the species, to life on this planet, and they need to be fucking thrown away. And I'm surprised like someone like Shama Sawant isn't close to saying anything like that. But then again, she's getting a lot of pressure. I remember when I think it was 2018 when she was running for city council. It was all these smears because she was trying to do charge an Amazon tax. So like the villains who run that shit, like they went all out vilifying her. She still got in, but she didn't fight back. And I think the fight back is ending the billionaire, so they can't control our politics. And while everyone was complaining about their situation, almost being homeless, struggling like a motherfucker, we were doing it to empty seats. The only council member to show up in person was Shama Sawant. Everybody else was like, no. And then like it failed. The motion to bring rent control failed. It wasn't the final vote, but the preliminary vote failed 3-2. And everyone who voted against it, they were just they had the most ridiculous excuses. Because they're probably landlords themselves. And it's just kind of like when you just get a whiff of this political beast, it's funky. And it's not my first run in with these kinds of people. But I think we need to cut them off at the knees by just ending the billionaires who fund them. What's up, pretty Nate? Ain't nothing pretty about me, boy. But I appreciate you showing up. Hey, Nate. Good to see and hear from you. Let me ask you this. Suppose you got money, say 100K. Would you still have this kind of mindset? Legit question. I've had well over 100,000 before. And further inculcated my mindset. Because when I had like a large chunk of change before um, YouTube knew who the fuck I was. I had a grandma who had a bunch of properties, millions of dollars in property, right? My grandma and grandpa, they got all that shit. Granddad didn't even finish high school, right? Um, but yeah, they had a bunch of rental properties. Um, and my dad had a bunch of rental properties too. My dad got railroaded back in the 90s. He went to someone to help him reorganize his debts. And the dude who he went to for help ended up fucking him over and taking his homes, right? My dad hated him, and this is start to realize, yes, there is a system, and it is definitely rigged against certain people. My grandparents, they were able to hold on to theirs until my grandma died, and then we were supposed to get a house and some insurance money from my grandma's property. But then I had an aunt who was in charge of the estate. She did everything in her power to prevent us from getting anything. We thought it was just going to be all kosher, copacetic, like it's, you know, it's family, you know, so there's plenty of money and property to go around. We're good to go. Then it was like a few years after it had happened when we were supposed to have been got paid. We realized, oh shit, it's not going to happen. My dad ended up getting us a lawyer. The lawyer was like, oh yeah, no, they're trying to railroad y'all. Um, yeah, but they ended up getting some stuff in motion. They got my aunt to sell the house. Well, she got one of my cousin's wives to sell it to herself. So it's like she was the real estate agent. She made it look like she was selling it to someone else because she used her married name to sell it to her maiden name. So it looked like two different people. And they sold it way below market value. Way, way, way below it. Yeah, and then we ended up uh, just going along with it. Because it was just still more money than I had ever had at the time. And yeah, and it, later we found out what was going on. But then, through the looking glass, it's just like my dad, when he was in charge of when he was a landlord, miserable times for him. It was like the first time I ever seen him pull a gun on someone because it was like multiple people who didn't pay rent. Because the economy in my hometown was struggling. Like I said, I left there when it was hella homeless people and it was just going up. Yeah, so it was just like he yeah, when you're dealing with that kind of poverty, I mean, he felt compassion for the people. He wanted to help them, but he also needed to pay his mortgage, and he was hooking people up, but yeah, they just weren't able to pay. And it required him to become someone that he wasn't, just to make the bills get paid. And at the end of the day, he ended up getting fucked over anyway. So it's just like you either become that person, like you got to pull a gun on people who are struggling, harder than you are, or you become so cutthroat where you just fuck over your own family. You're okay with just like seeing people suffer. You just like rationalize it, and just the family who profited heavily off of fucking over the rest of the family. Yes, they have money, but it's just like our whole family was destroyed by everything that they did. And it's just like last time I was out there, all the family functions that we used to have like regularly, no one was fucking with each other. Everybody was just like, I'm be over here, you be over there. I don't trust you. And it's understandable from the position of the person who gets fucked over, because like I had to leave that environment because it hurts to see how little you mean to people and how much money means. And that's when I started just understanding like if you need more than $10 million, you're a broken person, especially when it comes at the cost of your relationships. Like $10 million, that's $500,000 a year on interest alone, right? And I had family who would have easily had that without fucking over anybody in the family, but they chose differently, right? They chose they had more money than they could ever spend, um, but they chose to just fuck over the people who were there through thick and thin, and yeah, and they were cool with it, because like they're broken people. And when we start talking about billions and billions, like it's, the Koch brothers, it's more than two Koch brothers. It was like David Koch, and one of them died, but people associate Koch brothers with two Koch brothers, but it's like four or five of them. But like, when they started fighting over that money, it was like they started just being cutthroat, and it's just like we're talking about hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. So it's like they could have easily just given their siblings a fair share, like split it up evenly. But like it's just like the greediest ones. They just they go for blood, and that's the people who are running our society. The most vile, despicable people didn't earn shit, right? Um, they're just disgusting. They feel like they need all that shit because they knew if they didn't have it and you weren't broke and desperate, no one would talk to them. So they not only do they need all the money, they need you to have none of it because they need power over you. And I steer clear of anyone who needs that kind of power. But the people in power, that's the kind of power they want. They don't want like a democracy where everyone is all right, taken care of. They're not worried about the basic necessities in life. They're good on that shit because um, they need you to be so desperate where you're okay with your children being sex trafficked to Epstein Island. Like when some creep comes over and is like, "Hey, I want to take your daughter to the Virgin Islands," you'd be like, "Well, okay. Are we gonna get any money from it?" And they help you pay a little rent, and then like, yeah, your daughter's over there with Bill Gates and Bill Clinton doing unspeakable things for some change. Holy shnikes. Ooh. And you know what? Very tardy to the party on Instagram. Didn't realize I was not live for it until just now. Didn't hit the button. I'm like, normally that's like one of the most chatty places to be. But yeah. Yeah, no amount of money could make me just abandon the principal. Sup, Ivan Orton. Yeah, we were talking about rent control, but then I didn't loop in Instagram. So played my portion of the comment section in City Hall meeting for rent control. What's your name tag on Instagram? I'm still NatesVlogs over there. Believe it or not. NatesVlogs is alive on Instagram. Never went anywhere. I mean, I tried to switch it to NatesFlix, but somebody took it. Bastard. Someone took my name on TikTok as well, so I'm nateflix.net. Same with Cash App. So that's why I'm Netflix Funds. It's frustrating because people don't even use it. They just steal my identity like a motherfucker, in hopes to confuse people. Even on YouTube, Nate's vlogs. If you go there, it's like some little white kid doing something like the milk challenge, and it's just like it's antithetical to everything I was doing. He's like the person who I would evaluate and he would be fired. But now he's in charge of the channel, and YouTube's okay with that because YouTube is run by CIA, inherently racist, Nazi-supporting organization. That's just what they do, baby. What up, Nate? Not a mucho. Just getting ready for a party, so I did a little earlier, a little live show early in comparison to the normal time. Let me just verify. Yeah, so I got like, precious few minutes left, but I'd love to spend it with you. Love you, bro. Erotic. OG NatesVlogs. Yes. Erotic. I don't think I uploaded the OG, the original erotic video. I think I still have it, but I don't think I re-uploaded it yet. I'm gonna go and see if I can find it. But yeah, and boom goes the dynamite. What channel do you use on YouTube then? I was watching your shit over 12 years on there. Only channel I have right now is my tech channel, Gadget Picks. Yeah, everything else was taken off. Shit, even this channel has strikes on it from lives when I mention stuff that YouTube doesn't want you to mention. Like if you comment on a drug that they're invested in, if you say anything bad about their investment, they'll shut you down, which is illegal. But they're okay with it, and they're protected since they're working directly with the government, since they were started by government funding. Let's not kid ourselves and say that this is a private company. It is a spook show run by CIA, FBI, all of the deep state, people who killed more of my heroes than Thanos. MLK, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, JFK, all the good ones were killed by the people who run Google and YouTube. So, yeah, evil organization. I only come on here to let y'all know. Go to NatesVlogs.net and get the new videos. I'll be posting one. Well, the upcoming video, I did apologize to Joe Biden. It's an apology I was reluctant to make, but it had to be said. Because I made several videos over several years, accusing Joe Biden of being a crackhead. And recently came across evidence indicating he is most certainly not a crackhead. Because a crackhead would focus on crack specifically. I'm not saying he doesn't smoke crack, but that's something he does with his son Hunter at like family functions. He was speaking to the Israeli president, and he was clearly on that zombie drug. People said he looked like he was sleepy. No, he wasn't sleepy. He was zombied out by that fentanyl combination of heroin and horse tranquilizer. I just was pointing that out because it's quite evident. Like, it's like he's not even trying to hide it. I mean, I was actually kind of proud of him because, I mean, how many presidents could just take heroin to the chin like that, in that video, he was more fentanyl than man, and he was still, he still didn't overdose. I'd like to see any president or prime minister do as much heroin or fentanyl as Joe Biden is doing in his 80s and still live to tell about it, and I know he doesn't talk about it yet, but he'll probably talk about it once he gets out of office, and I hope that's very soon. No more employee evals. That's bullshit. No, the employee evaluations are at NatesVlogs.net, which I don't have up right now. So you go to NatesVlogs.net. You got your employee evaluations. Woke redneck and such. And yeah, so you got employee evaluations all up and down here. And you got multiple pages, and this isn't even all of them. More to come. Old and new alike are going to be added. So yeah, employee evaluations over there. Just don't do it over here. Yeah, but Yeah, but I am about to go get ready for this party. Um, I appreciate you guys for showing up, and don't forget to be good to each other. And if you got the time, get involved politically. Try to go down to your city hall, start movements to get the corporations out of your town. I realize that needs to be done now more than ever. So I was going to meet with some of the city hall and local government officials who are understanding of the need for corporations to vamoose, stop controlling everything. You motherfuckers already have more money than you could ever spend. You're broken people. Now it's time for you to get some jail time. Link me if you can. It won't load. You're talking about NatesVlogs.net. Okay, I'll do that and then I'll be out. It's actually also in my bio, I do believe. It's like the only website I mentioned. Yeah, but the NatesVlogs.net. All right. All right, so yeah, just paid off that shit, and I'm going to be adding some more shirt designs. I might do. So I did this one, the King County with the crown on Brother Martin Luther. So don't forget to be good to each other, you guys. Peace.